Hey everybody, it's Heather. First of all, sorry, I know the lighting's really bad. It's been raining all day, and so what natural light I might have had is now totally gone. I'm gonna work on getting lights so that it's not so shadowy. I feel like, anyway, and it just is a general sort of blanket apology. I know the audio in all my videos has kind of been like in and out because I'm very animated and I move, and I know that sometimes it's a little bit deafening and then really quiet, so I'm gonna get an external mic and fix that. So today is a spooky Sunday upload, and that means we're gonna talk about something spooky, and this one's weird. Carl Tanzler, he was a German-born radiologic technician at the U.S. Marine Hospital in Key West. Was a super, super smart guy, but still slightly psychotic. He fell in love with a TB patient, Elena Milagro de Hoyos, and even after she died, he was still madly in love with her. Madly being kind of the key phrase. He decided he still couldn't be without her, so in 1933, 4 years after she died, he decided to go to her grave and get her corpse. How romantic! So once he had attained her body, he lived with her. Well, he lived beside her. I mean, she wasn't living, but he did that for 7 years. Seriously. He would have lived with her even longer, but her relatives, they got a little suspicious. Someone had actually told them that they had heard through the grapevine that he was living with a dead body. What kind of town gossip do you have that someone was like, oh yeah, did you hear about Carl? He's got a dead girl at his house. Anyway, have you gone to the latest PTA meeting? What is that? They called the authorities, and sure enough, there she was. And they knew who Carl was because before his loved one died, he had actually gotten really, really close with her whole family. He even went as far as paying for her funeral. And then, as if that wasn't like kind of morbid enough, he had a mausoleum built above ground in this Key West cemetery, which begs the question, like, did he plan to get her all along? Because it's much easier, not that I'm speaking from experience, but it's much easier to steal a body if it's above ground in a mausoleum than it would be to like dig one up, take it out of a coffin, then take it home. I mean, I don't know, just a thought. So it was from that mausoleum that he had commissioned that he put her body in a toy wagon and brought her home. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but something about the fact that he loaded her in a toy wagon makes this whole thing even creepier than if he had just like carried her body. Like, I don't know, I just get a mental picture of him like carrying her body along in a little red wagon, like with all of his other dolls. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But in his defense, it wasn't his idea. Elena's ghost told him to. In fact, her spirit visited Carl all the time, and in between serenading her corpse with her favorite Spanish song, she would tell him that he really needed to take her body home. So, I mean, really, he was just doing her a favor. Let's be fair, guys. Just having the body wasn't enough, as most of you probably thought. It gets weirder from here. She needed to be animated. Oh God. So with wire and coat hangers, he connected all of her bones together. I feel like that would just be the creepiest marionette ever. He even fitted her skull with some glass eyes, because what good is a girl that you love if she can't even look at you and return that love with her eyes, you know? It would be a doomed relationship. Good for Carl. And most of you at this point, probably if you're like me, are thinking like, but what would she look like? Like, wouldn't her skin be falling apart? Yeah. Yeah, it would. So he replaced her skin with silk cloth and wax. as the hair fell out, he even replaced it with hair from her that her mother had been collecting. Now, some of you are probably going to be like, why would her mother have her hair? But actually, this is pretty common. If you've ever been to an antique store and seen like a random little, like usually they're kind of pastel colored little plastic basins that sort of look like an emesis pan, like what you would puke into at a hospital. Those are actually hair collectors. Yes, hair collecting. It's a real thing. I'll put a picture of what I'm talking about on the screen because you've probably all seen one and just not known what it was. And what women would do is, they would, as they brush their hair, all that hair that came out in their hairbrushes, they would put into this little hair collector and then recycle it. So if they made dolls or pillows or what have you, they use that as stuffing. So, hair pillows. Anyway, and she had been a really beautiful woman in life. And, part of that womanly allure was obviously her figure, and not wanting to lose any of that, Carl stuffed her bosom and her abdomen with rags to keep it from kind of collapsing. He dressed her up in stockings, in jewelry. I mean, she really was like the most morbid doll you can imagine. There's rumor, because I know that some of you are thinking it, like you're all wondering. There's rumor that he had fitted her with a tube so that he could love her, but that was never confirmed. There have been documentaries that said, yes, it was definitely there, but the original autopsy doesn't mention it, but it doesn't confirm or, dismiss it either. So think what you will. I like to think that he didn't, because the idea that he did makes me really sick to my stomach. She stayed on his bed, so that was like her place. Not surprisingly, she was sprayed regularly with cologne, disinfectants, things like that. Because, I don't care how much wax and plaster Paris that you're putting on this girl, she's a decomposing body. Like, she's gonna reek. And she's on your bed. And I think, well, I guess that she wouldn't be oozing anything because, her body had been taken care of for burial, but I still feel like there would have been some weird stains on his bed from, never mind. It's gone too far. I'm sorry. So, after he was caught and she was moved from his bedroom, he was examined by a psychologist. And what makes this whole thing even more disturbing is that psychiatrist or psychologist, whichever it was, maybe both, maybe everybody just gathered around, they found him to be completely mentally competent to stand trial. Do you realize what that means? They did not think he was insane. What do you do with that? Like, this guy stole a body, recreated it kind of, I'll put a picture up here. I don't think he did a great job. Made it look like her. It looked like a human-ish thing. And slept beside it every night. And they didn't think he was crazy? Okay. Oh, and if you're wondering, the case got dropped, so he never went to jail or anything. So there's that. The rest of you may be wondering, well, what happened to her? What happened to this poor body, that was taken and used in such a bizarre way? Well, what else would you expect? Obviously, she was put on display. Yeah, the Dean Lopez Funeral Home put her on display. I will put a picture of that up here too. And over 6,000 people came to look at her. I get it. Obviously, everybody has a dark side. Everybody's a little bit morbidly curious. Clearly, you're watching this. I'm making this video. We all kind of want to know. We want to see it. But I feel like we have a screen between us. These people just went and were like, oh, wow, there she is. all these people need to be put on some sort of examination. But I guess they'd be not crazy too. Nobody's crazy. It's completely normal to do these things. What do I know? Anyway, when all this happened, the public was in a frenzy. Not surprising. What is surprising is that the public was in a frenzy because they felt bad for Carl. Yes, they thought that he was just a hopeless romantic. It was so misunderstood, and this was just kind of a grand display of affection. They actually used the term eccentric romantic. Yes, because what little girl doesn't dream of eventually dying of a terrible disease and then having a doctor who didn't even really work closely with her, taking her body and animating it? Even though she had been taken from him, he couldn't just let her go. So he made a death mask to look just like her and lived with it every single day until he died. What makes that weirder? He had a wife. So there's a couple things to think about. Someone married him. Someone who married him let him live with this face that looked like the face of the woman whose body he'd stolen. And he kept it until he died. Like, there's so much happening. So much. And when she was taken from the funeral home, after, she was like this fascinating object to look at, she was reburied in the same cemetery but in an unmarked grave. Now, rumor has it that he found her grave, and I don't know if he paid somebody off or what happened, but that he got her body again. To me, though, the weirder part of that rumor is that he didn't just take her body again, he replaced her body with someone else. And what? Does he have like a room for these? Like that he just collects bodies like in case he might need one? I don't know. I like to think that rumor is just not true because it's so weird. So, with that rumor explained, a lot of people think that he didn't die with her death mask, but rather in the arms of his beloved. Think what you will. I think we've all lost our minds. Love. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Look out for crazy doctors, I guess. I don't really know. What advice do you give somebody after listening to this? Don't fall in love. No, that's terrible. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I want to take a second just to extend a humongous thank you to Brimstone Below, Creepy News, and Corpse Husband for taking the time not only to watch my videos, but to comment and be really supportive. It means so much because I admire their channels. If by some weird accident you haven't subscribed to them already, go and do that. They're so great. If you like weird content, they're all about it. They have got some incredible narrations, creepypastas, deep web stories, all of it. It's really, really good. So definitely make sure you go check them out. But really, thank you guys so much because it means a lot. And I will see you all back here Friday. Bye.